Hey everyone, it's John here, and in this video we're going to take a look at how we can automatically move data from one table into another table based on a status field. So here we have some open items in our table, and when we change this from open to closed, we want to have it automatically move over into this table here. Now to do this, we need a couple things. So first of all, we need these to be Excel tables. So you can create an Excel table by selecting your data, going up to the Insert tab, and using the table command here. So mine are already turned into tables. And once we've got tables, we're going to want to go up to the Table Design tab and give those tables a name. So here I've named them Open Items, and this table here I've got named Closed Items. Now the other thing is that we need this to be an online Excel file. So this is saved in OneDrive at the moment. So we need to have our Excel file either saved in OneDrive or SharePoint for this to work. And right now these tables are on the same sheet in the same workbook, but they actually don't need to be. So they could be on a different sheet and this is still going to work, or they can even be in a different workbook entirely. The last thing we need is we need a unique identifier in both of our columns here. So here I've got an ID column set up, and each of these values in here is unique across the entire data set here. And we need this unique identifier in order to use Power Automate and select certain items and delete them and move them over to this other table here. Now with that set up, we're going to head over to Microsoft Power Automate, which is where we're going to build this automation. So we just need to head over to our browser and log into flow.microsoft.com with our Microsoft account credentials. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a new automation. Now there's a couple different options here. So we can create automated flows, and these are things that are based on events. Unfortunately, in Excel, there's no event that's going to allow us to trigger something when we change data in a table. So instead, what we're going to do is create a scheduled flow. And this is going to be something that we could maybe set up to run every hour or every day to move those closed items into the closed table. So let's click on this and create a scheduled flow. And I'm just going to name this Move Closed Items. And we're going to start it right now. And for this demo, we're going to repeat this every minute, but I wouldn't suggest doing that because that's going to eat up a lot of your Power Automate capacity. So something more along the lines of once an hour or once a day is going to be more optimal. So we're going to stick with once a minute, and let's create this. And now we're going to add a step into our automation, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get all the closed items from our open item table. Now we're going to search for our Excel connectors, and I'm using a Microsoft Business account, so I'm going to choose Excel Online for Business. And the one I want here is I want to list rows present in a table. So that's going to allow me to get all the closed items in my open table. Now we just need to navigate to our Excel file. So it's in OneDrive for me. And then I can navigate to that with this browse option here. So it's in my demos folder. And this is the file here. And once I select the file, then I'm going to be able to choose from my tables here. So here we had our open items table. And then I'm going to need to go to advanced options. And this is going to allow me to only choose the rows of data that are closed. So there's an option here, filter query, and that's going to allow me to filter on just those closed items. Now, if I head back into my Excel workbook, the column name here was status. And so I'm going to use this in the filter query. So the filter query status equals closed, and closed is in single quotes because it's a text value. That's going to filter this query on just the closed items for me. Now the other advanced options here we don't need, so we're done with this action. Let's perform our next action. And now that next action is going to be an Excel one, and this time we're going to add those rows that we just got here into our other table. So the action I want is to add a row into a table. And again, we're going to locate our file. It's in OneDrive. And here it's the same file, so demos, Power Automate, and here it is. But again, like I said, we can actually have our closed table in a totally different file if we want to. So let's pick our closed items. Now, once we choose our table, it's gonna show the columns in that table, and then we can populate that with dynamic content. So if we click on the dynamic content button, then it's gonna show available content from our previous step here. So I'm just gonna populate those with the relevant items. And one thing to note is that as soon as I add that dynamic content here, you'll notice that Power Automate has added this apply to each step. So that's because in my list rows, I might have more than one closed item. And so I'm going to add a row for each one of those closed items that I might get. And that's what this apply to each step is going to do for me. Let's continue to fill this out. So in my closed items table, I'm going to take the ID and the stuff field and the status field from my other open table rows, and then add them into my closed table here. Now the last thing we want to do is we've added the data into our closed table, but we also need to delete the data from our open table. So inside the same apply to each step, I'm going to add an action to delete Excel rows. And the action I want here is delete a row. Again, we need to search for our file. It's in OneDrive and demos. And we can select our open item table. So this is the table we want to delete items from. And this is where we need our unique identifier. So we need that as our key column here. So our unique identifier is our key column. So we need to choose that. And then the key value is the item we want to delete. So again, we're going to use dynamic content, and we're going to use the dynamic content from our list rows. And we're going to use the ID as our key value. So this is going to delete any rows that had a closed status. Now let's save this. And let's head over to Excel and test this out. So I'm just going to change a couple of these to closed. And actually I'm going to exit this. And you can see that it ran 13 seconds ago. Let's go over to Excel. And it must have just ran before I changed this one here. So let's just wait another minute and we'll watch this one move over. So there we go. Another minute has elapsed, and you can see that that item that was here is now here, and it was deleted from this table. So that's how you can automate moving data from one table to another based on a status field. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel for future Excel videos like this one. That's it for this video. We'll see you in the next one.